I'm BERNINA Expert Amanda Murphy, and welcome back to the Diamonds to Quilt Along on Bernina's blog, WeAllSew.com. This month, we'll be quilting the first zigzag row of the sampler. We'll be filling this area with ruler work, so begin by stabilizing the row by quilting along the bottom seam. I used an aqua thread that matched the background of my quilt, and then I switched to a pink thread. I used Aurifil number 2479, and I echo quilted a line 3/4 of an inch away from the bottom of the zigzag row. I did the same at the top of the zigzag row, so I'm using the lines on my template to make sure that I'm 3/4 of an inch away from the seam. When I arrived at the top of the zigzag, I used my 3-inch Every Heart template, which is in my Every Heart Set 2 template set, to quilt a heart. So you can see I quilted one side of the heart and then the other side of the heart. And then I switched back to my straight template, my Every Angle template, and quilted 3/4 of an inch down until I got to the next peak of the zigzag. When this step is complete, your row will look like this. Next, we'll fill the quilting area inside our echoed lines with hearts, and to do that, we'll start on that bottom echoed row. So I'm starting at one of the points, and I'm using that 3-inch Every Heart template, and I'm aligning it at an angle so that one of the dashed lines on the bottom of the template goes right over that echoed line. So I quilt both sides of the heart, and then I can travel along my echoed line to quilt the next heart. Now there's a number of different ways of doing this. You can also stitch over your previous heart stitching lines. I'm going back, I went a little too far, and going back just to the right point. And the way I'm lining this up, you'll notice that there's some solid black lines on the left side of the ruler. They're curved, and they should line up right on top of my previous heart. So now I'll stitch the second half of this heart. Now either I can return to the right side of this heart, or I can stitch down my echoed line again. So I'm going to go ahead and roll the quilt so that I have access to the lower portion of the quilting area, and then continue stitching. And I'll make another heart. That time I got it just right. I didn't have to go back to a previous point. Next, I travel down to the bottom corner, and I'll stitch an upright heart there. So this time the vertical lines on the template line up with that seam. I stitch one side of the heart and then the other. Now after doing this, I'll have a choice. I can either return back up to one of the top points by stitching over my previous stitching, or I can end my thread and start back up at one of those points. I hope you've enjoyed stitching along with us in the Diamonds to Quilt Along on WeAllSew.